It's not every day that you get to talk to somebody that holds some serious records in fishing, but not only that, someone that is on a list of, say, of 5 people that have caught a whole list specifically designated in one program. So today we're actually getting the chance to talk to Ms. Allison Stattner of Real Love. So hey, strap in, everybody. This is about to get fun. Hope you're having a good day so far, and you're listening to Find a Demo Surf Fishing. Let's get after it. Oh, man, I love these shows. I love it. I love it. And it's Friday. Whenever you listen to it, hopefully it is, because it's getting released on a Friday. So I hope whatever's going on in your world, if you're driving into work, getting on that workout, sitting out on that beach where you should be, getting the lines in the water, go catch those fish, because it's going to get real here real soon, folks. That's right. The pompano are going to start running. It's almost April. Water temperatures are coming up. It's going to be great in Florida. So, all right, as I digress here, let's get after this fun conversation. So, like I said in the beginning, we're going to be talking to Miss Allison Stattner of Real Love. You can find her on Facebook under Real Love, Instagram, Real Love FL, so Florida. And on the other one for Facebook, you're going to find her on Real Love Surf Fishing Guide. So definitely check those out. Allison's got a ton of information on there if you read through it. It reads like a book. Really, seriously worth your time. So, all right, I'm done flapping my jibs. Allison, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. You already made me blush.
Well, I mean, you're kind of a big deal.
I appreciate the introduction, so thank you.
Well, I'm just going to go right back into that one, and it'll be part of the questions. You have earned your place in the Hall of Fame when it comes to the Florida Catch a Memory program, the 50 Fish Club, the lifetime catch list. Is that correct?
Correct.
You have caught 50, and it's you and 4 other people on that list, 5 total.
We recently added our 5th member, and I recently reached 60, although that is not a tier in the actual program, but that's my personal milestone.
Tier yet. So
I can say a little more about the program too.
Oh, you're gonna have to, because I mean, I've only had a little bit of interaction with the program, and it's been like I don't understand this, but the program itself is brilliant. So, but for you, anyone at all, not just you, I'm sorry, anybody to catch that list, the 50, that it's a huge list. That's a major undertaking.
It is, and it really pushed me as an angler, which it literally becomes more of like a focused addiction because you cannot start checking things off unless you're diversified. So, some are offshore, some are different parts of the state, some are different seasons, all different techniques. So, it's very challenging.
Challenging that's an understatement. I was overwhelmed just reading it. I was like, need a boat, need to go to Miami, need a boat. So, Tampa. Maybe I can get that in Tampa. No, nope. Got to go south. It
Yeah,
was
well,
serious.
the end of my list, I call them my unicorns. So I don't know. It's incrementally harder. So it's fun to help people get to the first, log their first submissions. And then they slow down. Like, I can't get to 40. I can't get to. I said, well, yeah, you checked off the easy ones. It's a growth chart here. So
What do you mean it's not just all turbo? I can just catch them right there. I mean, come on.
instant gratification. So you just gonna have to work in.
Oh, the old instant gratification. Yeah, it's the greatest thing, though. I mean, I want it all. I want it now, and I want it for free. Hello.
The program almost gives you that.
It really does. It really.
Yeah.
All right, so let's back up because we're way ahead of ourselves on my cool sheet here, and we all know I like to follow. I don't really follow directions. Never mind. All right, so tell us about yourself and what got you into fishing.
I have been fishing since I can remember with my dad. I'm from Avalon, New Jersey, which is by the beach there between Atlantic City and Cape May. And I grew up using I don't remember using them as a kid, but definitely as a teenager, we used the bloodworm fish bites up there. But catching, I have pictures of me as a little kid with bluefish and kingfish and little stripers and flounder, and that was pretty much an everyday thing. I was either out there with my dad on the jetty or the pier, or I was with one of my buddies. We need two people for the same net, and we'd get our mud minnows and hang out under the bridge. So that I feel fortunate that I was able to go do that, and have that independence and be able to be outside.
I'm only from a state over from you, so being from Connecticut, it's funny. I've talked to a lot of people from New England. This is great. I love it. The Northeast.
Yeah.
It's funny when you start talking about bluefish and flounder, because down here in Florida, it's one of those ones where people are like, "Oh, bluefish." Like, you haven't realized how big they get up here. Like, they're not the ones we catch here. Those are babies.
Bluefish. I felt like a broken record trying to explain the difference between warm water and water bluefish to people, but yeah, what's interesting in a comparison between the Northeast and Florida, especially, is just species diversification. Talking about what we were just talking about.
Yep.
And with the program, and so we grew up. It was like certain seasons we just moved from one species to the next, but there was always kind of that one primary target species. And so when I did move to Florida for college, is when I really started expanding and exploring all different avenues of fishing. So that's one thing I think that is one of the best advantages of fishing in Florida, is types of fishing and species.
Yeah, because we do. I've explained that to my family up in the north. They've talked about, what do you catch? I'm like, what can't I catch from the surf? There's so many different things that I can catch down here in Florida. It's amazing, and it is different than the Northeast, but similar in some other ways. But it's funny, talking about bloodworms. Get them. My family in Maine. I've heard we use them for trout. We use them on other ones there. But Fish Bites has it on their bait, and it's like, okay, bloodworms still work. But it's funny how it works from 1,500 miles north of us, but it works down here.
Sure.
So, what got you into surf fishing? You came down from college. You started in Jersey, get all those ones for the jetties, and then you came down here. What brought you there?
I grew up surf fishing, and when I moved to Florida, I started fishing a lot more offshore. And I would say periodically surf fished, and then maybe 5-6 years ago, I started driving up to the Juneau Beach, Hobe Sound, Jensen areas. I was driving up there from Miami, because once I came up here to fish once, I was like, man, I remember this is my jam. I did this as a kid, and this is where I really feel like I fit. And so then I was driving up here, and so much so that I really didn't want to go back home. And I said, my daughter's getting older. I'd really like to make a move now. And I'm very thankful that I did. I not only do I love the area where I am, but, with all the real estate market and people moving to Florida, it's I'm feel very fortunate that we relocated close to the beach and can live a little bit of a slower lifestyle. I've heard you talk about that with other people, and certainly Brett, and the relaxing therapy, you're still on a beach whether you're catching or not philosophy, as I think something that is a thread through everyone in the sport.
Yeah, it's hard to be upset when you're getting some vitamin C.
Yeah. No, I think that everybody loves to catch, but I think everybody also has a general disconnect. Maybe it feels good to go out on the beach and just disconnect for a little bit.
Yeah, I get that completely. I hated the beach for years. In reality, I was stationed out in Southern California, so I've got nothing but beach for days. But a few deployments later, and nope, I hate sand. I want nothing to do with sand. I don't even want to see sand.
Yeah, but then brings you full circle, and here we are.
Yep. Yeah. Got me here, and I'm like,
So,
this isn't sand. This is snow. It's great. Now I can't. You can't get me off the beach. You give me a
exactly.
pole, yeah, I'm there. I'll find a rip. I'll walk if I have to. I'll find a rip. So we started with it. Let's get into it now. So you're heavily involved with the Florida Catch a Memory program. Why is that, and what made you want to get so involved with it?
So I think the program inception was maybe 4 years ago, and it was at the same time that I started running a lot of kids camps in Coconut Grove and Key Biscayne, and mostly like headboat and seawall kind of thing. And it was all like, take a picture, send it to my mom, or I get tons. My phone is full of like pictures of grunts and mangrove snappers and kids asking, look what I caught, or send this to Allison, which is what I love most about it. And I had worked with FWC doing different outreach programs, especially Vamos a Pescar in Miami. And from that, it sort of evolved into the Catch a Florida Memory Saltwater Angler Recognition Program. And I submitted, I started my own profile and started to do my submissions to do it alongside the kids. And as an alternative to tech, I'm like, listen, you guys can be on your phones, but don't be doing Minecraft at camp. Take pictures, put them on the website, go on to the, regulations, or go into the FWC regulations books. They supply me with all the materials that I need for my kids' programs, and have always been super supportive. So, let's measure stuff. Let's take pictures of all that, trying to put a more constructive spin on their tech time. So then as I'm just naturally competitive, I was trying to progress in the program at the same time as the kids were, and then I was, started to push myself, and then as I engaged my friends, we sort of became competitive amongst ourselves, and it just really blossomed. Where the cool thing is that it can turn a maybe not so stellar fishing day into, yeah, but I got 3 species, or yeah, but I got a real big fish. So it's sometimes maybe you didn't fill the cooler, but you got some submissions. And so everybody's like, that's okay, because there's still an upside. So if I can take 2 seconds to tell you about the program.
Please do. You can take a whole hour. This program is...
I could talk about Catch a Florida Memory for a long time.
Don't mess around. I will start making a sub-series of this episode, because this program, I haven't even said it yet, but this program to me is amazing. I found it on accident, and actually I think it was your fault, actually, I found it. I think it was I think it was one of your posts that got me to look at it. And
a lot of people in the surf fishing groups have also made posts, which is great. And so there has been, cross exposure. But the reason that I really feel most fortunate, and I'm not going to digress, but I have looked up other states because I thought it would be cool for me personally to travel, or when I travel, to try to earn some type of certificate or citation. Like, I have some of my grandfather's citations from Virginia, North Carolina, which is like something I have that's framed that I think is super cool. So I thought, like Louisiana, I catch this giant redfish, and I called there, and I said, do you have a certificate, anything? They said, no. I said, that's your bread and butter. I came to Louisiana, I caught a redfish. Like,
yeah,
this piece of paper. And so I really started then putting a little more effort into checking out other states, and there's not many states that have any program. And Florida's is just like, we're just over the top, and we keep getting more and more sponsors. So essentially, it's a free program. You can go onto the website, which is catchafloridamemory.com, and create a profile. And then there's 3 parts to it. One is the life list that we already started talking about. There's 70 species on it, so it's not every species, like there's not a margate, there's not a strawberry grouper, a look down, right? So there's some species that the kids do catch that we've discussed, like, hey, should we add these species, just to make it a little more accessible for junior anglers. But there's 70 species, and as you progress, 10, 30, 50, and then if you complete the list of 70, it's the master angler. And you just need a photograph of yourself with the fish. We encourage catch and release. So it could be a small red grouper, for example, or a short pompano, and that's fine. Take a quick pic and release the fish. And that's really all you need for submission. So there's the life list. The second component is a Grand Slams. So there's a list of Grand Slams on their website. For example, shore fishing, surf fishing, you would have a good chance of getting the shoreline slam, which is a sheep's head and a pompano and a whiting within a 24-hour period. So you would be able to check that one off. Another one I've gotten surf inshore is might be called the Bay and Estuary Slam. That's a Spanish mackerel, a snook, and a mangrove snapper. So that's something everybody could get land-based for sure.
Oh, that's not fair.
Why? We get species over here.
We don't have that luck though. We getting snook here. Yeah, and it would require a little bit more of. Snook's not an easy one to catch for us here.
No, it's not. But that's the cool thing about the program.
I love it. I love that part. I'm sorry. I just had to say that because I'm like, damn it, that's a hard fish to catch.
Well, the third part of the program is called a real big fish, and that requires you taking a photograph of the fish on the measuring tape. And it'll tell you what the baseline requirement is. But I think for pompano, it's like maybe 19 inches. So it's excessive. It's when a fish is large for its particular species.
Okay.
So got one in the Keys. It was a 21-inch yellowtail snapper. Massive.
That thing was cool.
It dwarfed our mutton snappers, right? So, or smoker king, a really big snook, a really big redfish, really big black drum, So when you complete a submission, we send you a whole prize package. So they send you the certificate and buffs and hats and measuring tapes and a t-shirt, all kinds of really nice sponsored prizes. And on top of that, we have one for the Triple Threat Club. So once you make one submission to each component of the program, you earn another level of prize pack, which we do like a long sleeve SPF shirt. And there's still on top of that monthly drawings. So like Chip's dad, Bruno, he won custom mount. My friend's son won a reel. I think Seth, I think he also won a custom redfish mount. He's in the Northeast Florida surf groups. So I know enough people that have won, really awesome prizes, and we're adding new sponsors all the time. So there's it's a win all the way around. And, like I said, it's not just for kids, but it's especially great to encourage the junior anglers.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of this, too, goes hand in hand with conservation. Like you said, big for catch and release, or catch and release, not release. Sorry. I speak English, I promise. But it's also working with conservation and helping people learn about these fish because, you go to the beach and you're like, oh, what are you catching? Pompano. Well, what else is there? Well, I don't know. I caught this, but I don't know what it is. It's an education piece, so everyone starts learning. So you're giving incentive for learning, which is brilliant. Who wouldn't say yes to that?
Species diversification also lends to something as far as conservation, which a lot of people don't necessarily think of, is it relieves pressure on particular species. So, when you're targeting the whole water column or you're eating the whole water column, you're not pressuring any particular species. And so it actually is beneficial, for the whole food chain.
Huh. Dude, I didn't even think of that, but I guess it's mostly because I'm always in the sand. I have one column, that one, up a foot. But yeah, it makes sense.
No, well, I'm saying you're affecting, not just the bait fish, but up the web,
No, it makes sense. No,
but
no, please don't take me saying anything bad there.
no,
I mean, I think it's
I was
great.
sort of just embellishing that some people specifically target one fish, which is
Oh,
fine,
okay.
whether that's pompano or redfish, or snook. But
Nope.
when there's more variety, a lot of times it, can benefit a species.
So while we're talking about conservation, I know it's not on the list here because I didn't write it down, but we talked about it pre-show, and I think this meshes in kind of well. You love to collect seashells,
Yes, I do.
and you have some serious art with your shells.
I'm addicted to seashells, and it is my side hobby while I'm surf fishing.
You call it a
Um,
hobby. It looks amazing. Like you have some seriously great shells. You have
yeah,
found some good ones.
and I am a full nerd in pretty much every aspect of my life. So I have them all separated into small jars by species, just like I'm way over 60 species of shells. I can tell you that. Um,
Wow.
and we were laughing during the pre-show because I said I was really trying to think of a secret tip that the guys wouldn't share. And I think that the seashells is one of my personal tricks. And I would love any listeners to comment with their theories on this because it's just something I've been testing, by myself. But a lot of times when I get to the beach, I read the shells. I read the birds to find my sand fleas and my coquinas. And I read the shell line to find currents and rips. If you think of it in a general scene of a beach, the rack line and the shell line, normally, they run parallel to the shoreline, but then there's always those areas that have, I don't know what you call it, where you can tell that the shells and the rack are pushed up, in like a harder V. And if I look, usually that's where the rip from on our beaches in southern Florida, which is different than North Florida, but that's where I normally set up.
So you're saying where you have a big collection of shells,
Yeah,
that's one of your
not in
targets. You're like, hey, what's
my
this?
yes, because I feel like there's a little bit more of an aggressive current, and that's normally where it points me to the rip. Like the bait highway is the shell highway,
Yeah, okay.
and if there's like even current along the shoreline, and then in a particular area there's a little bit heavier current where the run out might be. I normally set up there, and I also find I normally find more activity in general. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm so into like the birds and the other natural aspects of the beach with the shells while I'm there that I've just made those observations over time that I normally choose to set up, and now I elect to set up where I find that the shell wash is normally, for me, coordinated with the run out.
So when you see the shell lines, then so you find that section that you like, and you see those shells. Are you stacking up right on top of that, or are you just paralleling it and like, okay, I think because I know your water is a little different than North Florida. I know it's almost comparable to how it is here in the Panhandle, for clarity and motion. But are you basically like, all right, the shells are right here. I've got 4 sets. I'm putting the shells in between 2 and 3, and then I'm going to run 1 and 4 a little bit different for the rod set. Is that how you're setting up?
Well, I think that depends, just like everybody else, any other kind of spread, So sometimes are the fish right in the run out, sometimes are there holes.
Yeah.
I'll use that as my kind of visual, especially if I'm like at the beach entrance of where I want to start looking. And I can see, maybe I'll look and see, oh, I can tell there's holes on either side of there, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, sandbar, the weights start to break, and then they flatten out, and it happens to be right on either side of that.
Okay.
So I'll probably want to fish one rod near the run out, and then at 2 rods, on either side to look and see if I can find some depth like that.
Making sense.
I don't know. It could be inside. It could be outside. It's like, I think that's the same in any location, is that you have to have some variety, and then when you find the fish, adapt your spread, right, to that particular conditions that day.
Right, because you're getting a starting point. The shells are your starting point. That's like, okay, here's my first factor. Birds and all the other, there's other numerous factors, and then you're doing your zones from there, essentially, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Because in comparison to North Florida, and I've had this discussion with those guys, we just don't have the structure that they have.
Yeah.
We don't have it. So you could be dead low tide, and I can tell you that there's, a trough, a sandbar, and a trough. But there's not a lot else other than that.
Yeah, it's one of the funny parts that y'all have down there that we have here. We don't have rocks. We don't have these. All we have, we got the bar, we got cuts, and we've got holes. Like, all right, you have to use these things.
Locations.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I would say only a few locations that I fish have rocks. A lot of our reef, I'd say, is like, in 20 to 30 feet of water is where it starts. So a lot of times the fish will come inside there, like especially on the southeast for this specific area. I'd say Juneau to Hobe Sound. They kind of get stuck on the inside of the reef line. But I'm not fishing rocks. There's only like 1 or 2 locations that I would fish that have actual rocks, like inside the second trough.
Okay.
But structure, for sure, it's just way flatter in a general sense. And so, I just look to other cues.
Yeah, that was like a master class for me. I can't tell you how many pieces I already got on my notepad here. That's why I love this job. I'm like, I get all the intel early, and then I got to send it out with everybody. I'm like, do I keep? No, I got to share it with everybody. But this is good intel.
I do. I think the birds are eating stuff, right? When you see the whole beach has no birds, and then there's birds running back and forth in one, little 20-foot area. Yeah. My first, intuition is I bet there's some stuff they're eating in there. And that's a lot of times how I'll find my sand fleas from far away.
Yeah, because they're gonna.
If there were sand fleas here, yeah, I would find them.
So we're talking about traveling there, as you were mentioning, different spots. But you do travel quite a bit. So how do you prep for your fishing too when you travel?
So I approach fishing, from a woman's point of view. And women, and I say this at my seminars, if men don't know this already, we like to put bags inside of bags. But that's true.
It is. Laughing? I'm laughing because I'm like, yep.
Yeah. So I have bags, and then so they're separated. I have a bag that I keep leader in, a zip pouch, and then I have another one where I keep what I'm going to call like fish bites, fight clubs, and jig heads and stuff like that. And then I have one bag that's just tools, and they come with me every day. And then, if I'm fishing the beach, then I have a Tupperware of my spot mix and my Florida Surf Angler rig bag. So I have, like, everything is in small bags, and then depending on what I'm doing that day, I put them all in a bigger bag.
Okay.
But that's what I do.
It's efficient, though.
I overpack. Also a general characteristic of women. But so the other thing I always say, especially when I have a bunch of ladies that are new to surf fishing is a whole sport in itself. There is not one way to do it. A lot of people are talking about bait and weight, but that isn't necessarily all of surf fishing. There's people that lure fish and walk the beach in the morning with a
Yep.
fanny pack. There's people that have, those monster carts. There's top water surf casting. I like to put a live bait out. So I take my small conventional reel that I use offshore as like my snapper rod.
Okay.
The bottom with. I like to take that to the beach. And when I catch, I guess I take a lot of my offshore stuff with me. So I'll take a small spinning rod that I already usually have a sabiki on. And I like to sabiki live bait. And then I like to put one on a fish finder type or like a sliding sinker rig and just in the first trough. And I catch a lot of snook like that in my area. But while I'm pompano fishing, I'm goofy jigging. I'm soaking a live bait for snook. Sabiki rod out. I have a lot of things on at one time.
Oh, so if those of you that don't know what that sound is, sorry, well, let me stop that. It's bait check time. If you haven't checked your bait yet, you need to pause this podcast and go check your bait. It is a requirement. So get over there. Go do that. Now come back. Okay, now that you've done that, hopefully you catch a fish, or hopefully you caught a fish in between. All right, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. You asked me how I prepare, and the answer is I fill my car with everything I might possibly need. I mean, I usually have the cast net in my truck, and then if I need it, I might go get it. I don't necessarily carry everything down to the beach with me, but I do like to do multiple things at one time.
That makes sense. You
get down there with pompano fish, and I see glass minnows with Spanish mackerel and bluefish, then I need to run up and grab my spinning rod. So I usually have, enough options that I can adapt to whatever comes up.
Nice. That's important up there, or any fishing really. Be prepared. Because I'm running normal surf rods, and then I'm always keeping one spinning rod with me. I'm keeping a shorter rod for top water or spoons, something readily available in case something happens. So
sure.
That's smart to do. And you explained it even better there, because I know you run conventional mostly, but I didn't know you were running spinner.
Well, for my long rods, and I say this to my ladies in class, I use the Penn Battle 3 DX 5000s. I use spinning rods.
Okay.
I use conventional offshore, and I use conventional for a live bait clicker, because the bait's in a free spool clicker. And I just kind of put it near the surf line, near the edge, and I just walk away and leave it. But one thing that a lot of ladies have told me that they appreciate is that you don't necessarily have to have a 14-foot conventional reel to be able to surf fish.
Right.
And I tell them, listen, that is something great to aspire to. It is definitely more challenging to learn to cast a conventional. Once you master step one, you can continue on and add to your arsenal of equipment and skills. And yes, it's true that you can always retrieve a long rod and fish it shorter. But if you are not effectively doing it, then you're probably not catching as much as you could be. And so I tell them, if you start on a 9 or 10-foot spinning rod and keep it kind of simple, you can catch plenty of fish here in the first trough or, at the bar. And then if you want to add in a 12-foot rod or you want to learn to cast a conventional, that's great. Then you can stagger it. But it's not necessary. I catch plenty of fish in a little bit closer on a spinning rod.
That's awesome. Sorry. I get it.
Sorry.
I'm loving it.
Because a lot of women feel intimidated and they think they have to go from 0 to 100. And that's just not true. It takes the fun out of it.
Yeah. Hell of a great advice, though, Allison. Seriously. I don't know what else to say except for, you basically just set everyone else up for super success just on that one alone. Because it's easy to get intimidated and it's easy to get overwhelmed by looking at this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And they ask, the reason that I'm repeating that is because so many women in particular have told me they appreciate that. And that's, we've talked about other things like braid and mono. I said, you know what? It's hard to tie a knot with braid. Why don't you master it with mono, not getting wind knots, not having maybe the intensity of every single wave, inflection, wind, I said, then it's harder to, what's the word I'm looking for? There's so much interference with braid sometimes in the level of sensitivity that sometimes it's a lot easier to just have mono out there and bing, 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 the pompano rings the bell and then you go wind it in. And sometimes I just think the simplicity of that and then adding in the complexity of braid later, it's another something you practice and you advance into.
Nice. Well, thank you for doing that, because it goes across the board, in my opinion. You don't have to be intimidated by this. It's a great sport. It's a super wonderful sport, but you don't have to go out there and get the 13-foot rod and reel to be successful. So thank you for really hammering that home. And did I lose you? There you are. Are you there?
Oh, I'm good at dropping the hammer. I'll drop it.
That's funny. All right. So while we're talking about traveling, what has been your favorite destination? And is there a dream trip that you would like to go on to fish?
My dream trip is to run Baja with an ATV and chase rooster schools on topwater.
Oh, the rooster? Wow.
Well, you said dream trip.
Oh, no, but I get it. The rooster is... I've only heard about it from Robert Fields. I've only seen it on his YouTube. I didn't know what a rooster fish was until I saw him heavily guiding down there in Colombia, I believe it is. He's involved with them. And then watching... Oh, go ahead.
He's in Panama. That's all.
Oh, Panama. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But with his guiding, and then they're out there in kayaks pulling out monster rooster fish. I mean, these are giants. I was like, that is a super cool fish, and that has got to be the trip of a lifetime. But chasing them topwater like that in Baja? Oh, that's a new level there.
You go on the ATV and you chase the schools, and then you jump out and throw at them.
What made you think? Okay, I got to know. What put that one in your head?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm already maxed out on my Atlantic species over. So my general fishing goals are I'm going to use I always say the second half. I'm going to use my second half to check off all my Pacific species.
Okay.
Actually, it's a very small group, but a couple of us started ladies surf fishing on Facebook, and it's not just Florida. There's like a couple hundred members in it. It's a very supportive ladies group. Anybody's welcome. You'd be surprised. I have 2 administrative questions. 1, are you a female? 2, do you love fishing? And they skip the female question, and I'm like, I have to decline. I'm like, this is a ladies fishing group.
Kind of in the title. I mean, just saying.
Yeah, no. Well, they still want to. If they know that's where we tell secrets. But there's a lot of ladies, not just international, but I have ladies in California and Alaska, and so it's super cool. Cheyenne's in that group also, and she shares a lot of her cooking and catching. But the ladies group, there's ladies in there that are catching halibut in their backyard in Alaska. I'm like, dude, that is so cool. And a lot of the fish they post, I have to ask them, can you tell the rest of us what species that is? Because I have nowhere to even start guessing.
So you're gonna have so what you're saying is that in the next couple of years we're gonna see a Allison road trip that starts in Baja in the winter and ends in Alaska in the summer, catching along the way of the West Coast. Is that what I'm hearing? I
don't know. That's pretty long coastline you got there, but definitely gonna bouncing around. I'm definitely gonna, I want to hit a couple of Pacific spots for sure.
Dude, that'd be so cool. I didn't know about that in the backyard. That's pretty cool for halibut. That's some good.
I don't know any of the species they catch. It's pretty cool. So
I've only had one instance with Alaska, and that's one of the anglers up here, Jeremiah Kelly, a friend of mine. He lived there for many years, and he was telling us about the fishing there. And it's just every time he
yeah,
talks about it, I'm like, I want to go there. I really want to
it's
get involved in that.
a majestic, take your breath away type of place. It's pretty amazing.
So, so you told us about the dream, but where has been your favorite place, your favorite destination of fishing yet?
I don't really have one.
Okay.
I really like the multi locations and the multi species, and I mean, I get excited over little fish, big fish. It really doesn't matter to me. So like I was talking with Brett, we're gonna try to line up our schedules to do some more tournaments. Where Brett has this fish bites thing. I would like to come and set up my Catch a Florida memory booth, but it's one of my goals to spread Catch a Florida memory more from the East Coast, which I feel like I've covered pretty well. I'd like to do more Panhandle and West Coast stuff. So
I was just about this.
really looking forward to coming and doing that. That's kind of my short-term checklist. I love fishing in the Outer Banks. That's a really, really awesome surf fishery.
Okay.
If you had to say my favorite trip, my sister has a house in Hatters. And
Okay.
so that just to fish up there, and there's a lot of ladies in the International Women's Fishing Association that have really, really awesome catches and fish all the tournaments on ladies' teams up there, and talk about structure. That's it. We've talked about big fish, and so I enjoy that. That's a real challenge for me to go up there and try to hang with them.
Well, we'd love to see you in the Panhandle with that because that Florida Catch a Memory I've seen it in the Panhandle Surf Fishing group several times. And it's mostly when I see them post, when I see that one, I'll, try to share some stuff. They've had some really cool ones. Well, yeah, I'd love to see you up here at one of the tournaments or anybody to come up and talk about it because I think the program is a great program that needs to grow. I think more people need to be involved, but that's just selfish me. Sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. I really do want to see it grow. So,
Yeah, and that's something that I'm working on right now is kind of with the FWC team is we're working out to find some other ambassadors to maybe help me spread it, not just geographically, but in different types of fishing groups. So it's exciting. It is going to grow.
Yeah, I'll put it in recording. If I can help in any way, please don't hesitate. By all means, let me know how I can help because, like I said, I think it's a good deal. I think it's a great program, and I want to see it grow because I think it really matters. So, all right, sorry, get off my soapbox. Do you have a go-to rig or bait and rig setup whenever you go out?
Yeah. Nope.
Okay. You were the first person to tell me that, and I love that. Do you have a favorite rod and reel combo then?
I do. I fish Lamy Glass carbon surf rods, 10s and 11s. And I fish all Penn spinning rods, and I fish all Shimano conventionals. And the Penn spinning rods I like right now are the Battle 3 DX. As I mentioned, I use the 5000s. I also have an 8,000 spooled up with 60-pound braid that I switch on and off of my medium heavy rod because I use that like tarpon. And they're a dealer only reel, so you can't just go onto a random website and get them. You have to go to your local tackle shop. And I told Penn, I said, I appreciate you doing that and giving the smaller guys a slight advantage over the internet conglomerates, so they can have a little bit more of a specialized retail product.
Yeah, I have
But
two.
for
I
the
have two.
price,
They're so good.
You're getting a little more real for the price.
Yeah, I like my DXs over my standard Battle 3, which I found to be strange. But the DXs, I don't know what they did for a little bit more. I know that they added a little bit, but I really like those DXs. It's a very, very well built reel.
I haven't had a problem yet, and I love the handle. I think a lot of people have gravitated towards the newer like ball handle, if that's what you call it, than
Yep.
the classic reels. And they're just real smooth. So
Yeah, I had a
I'm
couple
pretty.
reels. Okay, sorry, guys.
Oh no, I just said I'm happy. I'm really happy with them.
Yeah. I had a couple reels with the paddle, and I finally have gotten rid of it and moved to the ball because the ball is more comfortable. It's more ergonomic. It's comfortable. It's better feeling, and you can control. I feel you have more control, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, when we were used to the other ones, and that was your option, that was comfortable. But now to go back to it, it feels like it's real small. I think.
No. Uh, what do you think? Oh, besides catching dinner, what do you get out of surf fishing?
I definitely, it's disconnect to reconnect is my little tagline, especially with the kids programs. And that's how I feel about it, that I get to turn everything off for a little bit, which is hard to do. And I feel like I can take a deep breath sometimes. Like I actually, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes after I get to the beach, I take one of those like real deep breaths, and I said, okay, see, that you needed to come down here. And it's just a check, and every time you get to see a sunrise like that, that's another check. It's beautiful.
It recharges you every time, right?
Yeah. And as far as the kids go, similar to again, I don't mean to keep saying Brett, but I was just listening to the podcast. But, I did so many programs, whether it's with kids or ladies, on the boat in the seawall. And the beach, I think, is more successful because I do not have to worry about the beach and the boating safety. I don't have to teach them, not beach safety. I don't have to teach them boating safety or seawall or pier etiquette, right? Because pretty much everybody knows how to just go and have fun and relax at the beach. So when I can just call the kids over, hey, come help me reel this in. Or, I mean, honestly, they like to just take the sand flea rake and go down. I'm like, over here. They're like, no, we want to catch more sand fleas. I'm like, okay, whatever.
That's
Let's bring
fine.
one up there and put them on the hook.
Yeah,
So,
hook it.
yeah, no, I just feel like it's a natural, um, everybody's naturally having a good time and relaxed on the beach, and then you're also fishing. It doesn't have to be like confined space.
No. So with your love for the beach and surf fishing and fishing in general, what made you want to start Real Love?
I was working, doing land use for a commercial real estate developer, and I was working all the time, and my dad got sick, and I decided, my daughter was young, and I decided that I didn't want to push papers around, and have her just think her mom went to an office and came back to an office. I just wanted to be more present. I said I don't want to wait until I have to overcome something, a tragedy or some type of handicap in my life. I want to just have that mentality just from the get-go, just change my mindset.
Okay.
And so I did that. I just embraced, being able to take her with me. And once I started working with the kids camps, like I said, the text messages of look at this mangrove snapper that my son caught, or he asked me, he send this to me, or like so many people, my daughter never wanted to go touch bait before, and now she just wants to go, when can she fish with you again? All those types of emotional rewards just reinforced what I wanted to do. I mean, it felt good, and then the reinforcement just made me continue the path. And I guess the support and the reinforcement has grown and continued, and so it's just, now you don't really know where the destination is when you first start. You think you know where you're going, but then as you take all these baby steps along the way, it changes and it evolves into, hopefully something bigger than maybe you had even first considered. So that's where I am right now. Couldn't be happier. And it all started as it just pieced itself together. I never saw myself where I currently am.
The see it, dream it, make it happen.
I mean, it's really come full circle for me. And I think I'm just the type of person that when I ask a question, I never get an answer. It kind of just leads to more questions.
Yeah.
So I just have continued to keep asking questions and trying new things, and that's the strategy and the game, and that's all stuff that I enjoy.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you. Because you proved it. You proved yet another thought that I really always believe in is you're a student forever. You're always learning. And when you're not, why? There's got to be more. There's always more.
Yeah.
So
well, and I kind of got in a rut. I mean, it's easy, right, to go on the wheel in whatever aspect of your life. And sometimes, changing things up, all of a sudden you get that moment when your eyes you see things fresh, and I've had a couple experiences like that where you meet someone that changes your mindset about something. You have a mentor. I was fortunate to have a lot of mentors, so now I enjoy paying that forward to other people. And I think there's a lot of people in surf fishing that maybe they had someone at home, father, grandfather, uncle, that took them fishing and instilled that joy and love of nature, or maybe they didn't, and they found that community and family on the pier or down at the docks or down at the beach, and so that's what brought them back. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about going down to the beach. I know depending on what beach I go to, there's a lot of people down there that have been fishing those spots for years and years, and I really love hearing their stories and the surf fishing family. I think that's something that's special about surf fishing specifically. We are really a big family.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about learning, because you gave me the perfect segue. So thank you. All right, this one has been going around Facebook. If you guys are following Allison, if not, this has actually been going around social media for a little while. It kind of died off from what I was told, but it's starting to make a bigger impact, and a little bit more knowledge is coming out about it. So please educate us, Ike Jime. You've had my every post that you've done on it. If you could track my hours watching, you would probably see it loop 5 times, because I'm going back watching how you're doing it. So please educate us. Let's get down this.
You had me at brain spike.
I might make that the headline.
Yeah. So this is what we were just talking about, coming full circle. I want to first say I am not an expert in any sense of the word when it comes to Ike Jime and Shinkajime. However, again, blessed to have a mentor at the Ike Jime Federation. Every time I think, oh, I kind of learned something about this, he pushes me or shows me the next step, and I'm like mind blown again. So it's simultaneously super intellectual and super not, like super what's the word I'm looking for? Instinctual, just kind of animalistic, basics, biology. But then on the other hand, there's a lot more that goes into it, the why and the interconnectivity of food supply chain and conservation. So the most basics I can say is that it does take a few extra steps, which some people say I don't have time to do. I have come up with a little system that works well for me, and it doesn't really take that much time. First of all, if I'm going to take the life of an animal, I want to do it in the most respectful way and harvest the highest quality meat I can, which is the purpose. So what I've done is I took a little carabiner and I put my brain spike on it, and I also put a rag and my scissors. And so what I've been doing is my step one is to use the brain spike, which is Ike Jime. And the way that I find that is, in some fish, even like a whiting, which is all silver, if you look closely, you will see a lateral line. And if you follow the lateral line to behind the eye, generally is where the brain is. And when you hit it properly with the spike, which takes just a little bit of practice, you will see a reaction from the fish, kind of like a shivering or the eye motion or the mouth will pop open, like when you have reflexes on your kneecap, kind of looks like that. You're touching the brain. So then you know that you've hit it. So the second step is I bleed out the fish. I cut the gills and I bleed it out in a bucket of ambient temperature water.
Wow, another bait check? Jeez, these things getting me today. I'm getting in trouble with these. 2 bait checks. All right. No, keep going, because this is good. You got me.
So I bleed it out in ambient water, because the heart continues to beat for a few minutes after you hit the brain spike. So that's the optimal time to bleed out the fish.
Okay.
When you just take a fish out of the water and you put it in either an ice slurry or a cooler, it is essentially suffocating to death. Yes?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I do things different than that, but yes, essentially, if you just pull it out and throw it in, you're just letting it die a slow, painful death.
Okay. So when it is in the cooler, it is exerting all of its energy to stay alive. So it is excreting biochemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, lactic acid, right, in that process. So when you hit the brain spike and the Ike Jime, you are essentially playing defense and preventing the fish from creating more of those biochemicals. So that's step one. And then you're bleeding it out, right? And that's essentially also ridding the fish of toxins or any other bacteria, which could be in the blood. And you don't want to eat blood. So if you do bleed out your fish, you will notice there's no blood on the fillet table and the meat is super, super clean. If you do just those 2 steps, and after you bleed it out in the bucket, you put it on ice, you're already way ahead of the game. If you want to take it to the next level and use the wire, which is the Ike Jime wire, you are essentially then playing offense, because when you destroy the functionality of the wire is to destroy the spinal cord. And sometimes if you watched the one Pompano, I made a perfect match. It happened that the wire matched the neural canal perfectly. So it extracted the spinal cord, which in the Ike Jime world, they call the big worm. However, most of the time you don't get that perfect of a fit, and you can just use the wire to sever the spinal cord and destroy in the neural canal, so that any electrochemicals remaining are not able to communicate to the meat to the muscles, which is essentially a comparison to like paralysis, where you have your body, but your brain and your body are not communicating. And so what that does is it delays the onset of rigor mortis. So if you've ever had a bigger fish, like a kingfish or a redfish, and you kind of, when you get to the fillet table, it's in a C shape and you have to push it down to flatten it, it creates gaping in the meat, and it essentially is like destroying the protein structure of the meat. And so what I did with the pompano and the sheep's head was I had them, after I did both the spike and the wire, I processed them and wrapped them, and I did not eat them for 7 days.
Did you freeze them? I was going to ask you that. Did you freeze them or fridge them?
I wrapped them in paper towels and followed a little process that I have going here, and they were in my refrigerator for 1 week.
Wow.
Zero odor, zero. Now, I processed the fish. I cored the fish. I took the guts out. I took the gills out. I scrubbed the inside of the cavity. I put paper towels in there. I thoroughly dried it. I mean, there's more steps.
Right.
But the reasons behind it are, one, you want to harvest the highest quality meat. Two, you don't need the immediacy of, oh, I didn't eat this fish in 2 days or 3 days, so I'm going to get rid of it and I'm going to throw this fish away. You've now created a 1 week, the process I'm following, honestly, there's a lot of chefs that keep fish, they age it for 2-3 weeks so it develops enhanced flavors, right?
Didn't know that.
Yes. It's like dry aging a steak. When you have a, prime Wagyu ribeye that was dry aged in a meat locker for 3 weeks. And it's that prima, it even has mold on the outside. And people consider that a delicacy. So in Japan, but I guess in Asia, but I would assume, but specifically in Japan, where Ike Jime is from, this is the normal protocol for the harvest of the fish. It's high level of sanitation. It's zero bacterial infiltration into the meat. The eye clarity, completely clear. So there's so many things. Like I said, I just started with the spike, and then I evolved to the wire, and now I'm moving into this aging processing, and it's just coming such full circle to me to I'm mind blown as to the opportunities that this provides for you as an angler. And a lot of people see it as over the top or not necessary, but it's to people that have been doing this, this is how they were raised. It's standard protocol.
Right.
If that makes any sense. I don't know. Do you have questions? I mean, did that make any sense?
Oh, the whole thing made sense to me after I watched the video. I found there was one other person after I saw your post about it, and I do have a follow-up question on that post, but I'll get there. When I saw your post, I just Googled it, and there was another young lady that had a video. She showed it on a boat, and she was explaining.
Kate.
What's that?
Her name's Katie.
Thank you. I didn't have it written down. I apologize.
Okay. Sure.
What do you have her last name? Because now I got to make sure I tag her in this one.
She is at Sea with Katie.
At Sea. Okay.
And I think she's definitely working with Ike Jime Federation. Ike Jime Federation has been working for years, or many people in the commercial fishing industry practice Ike Jime, okay? Because the value added is clear. It comes when you get your paycheck. So if you have fish to sell at the market that is not properly harvested, you either won't be able to sell it or you'll be able to sell it at a lower price, right? But if you have superior quality, properly harvested fish, all of a sudden your bottom line, it's a no-brainer for if you're in commercial fishery. It's trying to help the recreational angler or the charter captain understand the significance of taking the extra steps.
Okay. This makes a lot of sense to me. But watching Katie's video kind of answered a lot more of my questions. Like, okay, I see how she did it. And I appreciated it. She was like, look, I'm no pro here. Just follow me. It was like, okay, you get some steps as how to go from there. And then I saw your video or your post on the sheep's head, and I was following it, and I was kind of watching it, and I was like, okay. But somebody made a good question, and I was like, okay, this should be a great question. And I know you said you were going to follow up on it, and it's only been a couple days, so I don't expect you to have a follow-up on it. The one thing that worried me with the local was, pompano being specific, since it's so heavily targeted here. You got to cut the tail, and you got to run the wire through the column, or right up the spine. Somebody had mentioned, well, does this fall into altering the fish for FWC? And my first thought was no, because you're not cutting the tail off. You're just cutting a section through the tailbone, and you're leaving the flap. You're not dissevering the tail. Did you hear anything back on that?
So I do not have a concrete answer, but what I will say is that your podcast is surf fishing. But for me, a lot of this practice is occurring on the boat, and then bringing it back to the fillet table. So in that respect, I didn't have this question prior to. The other thing I will say is that you can use the wire to enter the neural canal, which if you want to follow up on the anatomy, I can just tell you briefly how to find it. You can use the wire through the head or through the tail. So you could essentially put it in through the head spike and find the neural canal and come out. But for a beginner, it's much easier to look at the tail because you can clearly see where the spine is and where the neural canal is. So I need to follow up and get a specific answer, but there was someone else that made a follow-up question or follow-up comment about that on that same post, and he had an equally good opposing perspective that he had gotten from FWC. I think it might have been, it wasn't in regarding to sharks, but I will have to look it up.
Okay.
I mean, you are allowed to gill the fish at every step up until then. And I think, that the intention of that rule is, obviously if people mutilate the fish, you can stretch it an inch or two or whatever in those cases. And I think that was the original intention, to maintain the integrity of the fish so that you could make sure that people were following the regulations. So I think the intention of the slice, right? If you cut the tail off and your pompano is under 11 inches, then yeah, that could be a very big problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not talking. I guess my bigger point is, I don't. For those that are listening, this isn't a legal debate. We're not going down that. I'll be the first one to say no. I plan on doing this. But I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying this concept and applying it in the beach is new. So this is all we're just pioneering this right now. So I think it's the discussion.
And I think, after seeing your video and seeing Katie's, I talked with Justin, my fishing buddy, about it, and he was like, yeah, man, it makes a lot of sense. Because I found, going back, as much as I hate to bring it up, I know I've never met the guy, but Robert Fields, he had a video on redfish and explained a quick way to dispatch them through the pectoral fin. And I was like, oh, why don't I do that? And I did it on my next red, and I was like, well, this is brilliant. I didn't have this fish suffering and dying. It's, it was a quick death, which if I'm bringing a fish home, I don't want it to suffer. I'm that guy, before this, so please don't judge too hard. I'm that guy from beforehand. If I got it and I know I'm keeping it, I'm killing it right away. I'm cutting the gills out. I'm bleeding it out. I know it's like, hey, thanks, but I've got to do it this way because I don't want it to sit and suffer. But the Ike Jime method really caught my attention because it's like, well, this is a faster, cleaner death, and I can get back to fishing, and there is more to it. With the Shike, I think that was brilliant because you are, like you said, you're just making a better quality fish. You're harvesting your meat and you're doing the best you can with it to make it last. So I am 100% on board. I love this. I think it's brilliant. A lot of people will disagree. Okay, cool. We all have our opinions. I have mine. This is my podcast, so that's my opinion. And I'm very thankful that you shared the information on it. And I know that it was the Ike Jime Federation. There's a lot of info on that page, and you've also got, wow, that's good English, Brian. You also have a discount code for the tools to do it properly. That's correct, right?
Yes.
And what's the code right now?
It's my Instagram name, Real Love Florida, or Real Love FL, and then Ike Jime, all one word. So Real Love FL Ike Jime. I can put that in the comments. I guess we can add things.
Yeah, I'll get it tagged in here. I'll make sure it's definitely on the part of the description today, or when we get it posted up.
Let me just say quickly that, I grew up, like I said, on the beach in New Jersey. I would just take a weak fish and break its neck on the sand. That I was taught to do that. That was the proper thing to do. Ike Jime is not really, there's other clubbing, like fish bats. There's other ways that different cultures have historically
dispatch their fish.
It's not about dispatching the fish. It's about the brain impact. And Ike Jime is really not targeting this substantive discussion of dispatching the fish. It's really about the fish quality.
Makes sense.
So, although it's quick and people can talk about the humanity or the most humane way to dispatch the fish, that is not the primary focus of the practice.
Right. I'm sorry if I made it seem like that. It's
That's okay. A lot of people think that, and I just wanted to, make that clarification.
I appreciate you. Hey, somebody's got to keep us on the up and up, and I appreciate that you would do that.
It's an over clarifier.
Are you mansplaining me? I appreciated it. I don't know what anyone else did, but I appreciated it because if I don't know, I'm learning. You're teaching me.
Give way too much background before I even get into the story.
I think everybody's kind of like, what just happened? It's like, it's really okay. It's really okay. Everything is fine. You'll be okay. Again, this is an educational platform. This is another piece of knowledge for your tackle box. We're not telling you to do it. If you'd like to, here's the information, and we're giving it available to you. So, all right, moving on to the fun stuff then. So,
well, I will say just one more thing.
Go ahead.
We were talking about eating the water column, right? So, for example, I've done this with some croakers. I guarantee you would not know it was croaker. That sheep's head that I just ate after 1 week was like luxurious silk in my mouth. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it has a mouth feel and like a rich taste that 100 guesses you would not tell me was sheep's head. And honestly, it's like if you think about the way that we've been traditionally handling fish, it's all of that is causing decomposition to start in the cooler, and so the prevention of, no one wants to eat meat that's been decomposing. You don't want your beef to be like that. So it's really should be the same principles should be applied to the fish. And it's so significant in comparison that I think, people that just at least consider trying it, you will, probably become a believer when it's at least accessible. And it is something that's accessible. It's not, you might have to practice a little bit, but it's nothing that's out of reach of the recreational angler.
Yeah, here we go. I'll be the first to tell you, I am gonna do it. I am going to start doing it in the surf, and I will continue to post about it because I'm gonna learn. And again, I'm a learner. Consummate student. I want to learn.
What you think is a comparison, for sure.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you realize I'm gonna have to call Cheyenne after this and be like, okay, so Allison and I talked, and she'd mentioned this about her sheep's head. We need to talk. Because, I mean, she's one of the few people that I know. She has the palate. I have the palate of a sandpaper. But she understands this stuff better than I do. So, again, we'll get there. I'm sorry. This is becoming a fun, long episode, man. I'm sorry I'm holding you up. But I've still got questions. Can you just keep going?
Sorry, doctor. Good. No, do it.
Oh,
out later.
This is the bad thing. You get two talkers on a podcast. Oh, we're going to talk. And it's going to last. So you're on the board of International Women's Fishing Association. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes, I am the membership chair, and the organization essentially started with a group of ladies whose, I guess maybe their husbands fished and they wanted their own club and they wanted to do their own fishing, and it has evolved into really not just the camaraderie of fishing together, but these ladies, I mean, their skill set is immense. So I am surrounded by women that have just traveled and records and fly fish and light tackle and just really amazing ladies. And we have various tournaments throughout the year, and some ladies get together outside the club. It's just, I have found it's just another way for me to give back and at the same time really be rewarded. I'm hosting my first tournament, which is going to be a all-release largemouth bass tournament, switching it up a little bit on Lake Okeechobee in a month. We have redfish tournaments in Louisiana. We do backcountry Everglades tournaments in Islamorada. And I've talked to the ladies about hosting some surf fishing events. As I mentioned, some of the women I'm friends with in the club are from Outer Banks, and they fish on surf fishing teams up there. So it's just, super supportive and competitive in a very, constructive friendships. It's exciting, and not every woman is from Florida. We do have a lot of ladies from Florida, but we have international anglers and ladies from across the country. And like I said, all different skills. Like some of them are primarily bill fishing, and some of them are red fishing, and some of them are freshwater fly fishing. And so the overlap and of experience and stories is, it's exciting to see with women, because I feel like not just the surf fishing demographic has exploded within the larger fishing industry, but for sure women and juniors, but for sure the women's segment is exploding. And as membership chair, I can see that quantitatively also, because when I do comparisons of our historic numbers, it's like we're way up. I get inquiries almost daily, and I have new members pretty much at least one or two every month. So it's we have a junior angler program, and it's exciting to see, again, something else that's growing.
Well, you're doing a hell of a job then, because I mean, if it's growing, that says something, and they are. I mean, like we were talking offline, my daughter Abby, she loves to fish, and she sees it. Yeah, there's not a lot of the ladies out here fishing with her. A lot of the times we go out, it's dads and sons. I think there's one other set of daughters. Justin brings his daughters. We all fish together, but it's growing, and there's nothing wrong with that. And for that kind of group to be together, like you were saying, if somebody wants to get into fly fishing, you have that available. Like, oh, hey, this is where I started. You have a knowledge base to help each other. That's, you can't ask for something better than that.
Yeah, it's more stories, and if you maybe want to try something you haven't done before, then you have the network to do that.
Well done. Thank you for explaining that and bringing that up. I appreciate it. I really do.
Well, if anyone does want more info, they can reach out to me, or it's IWFA.org.
I will make sure I tag that properly. I had .com. Of course I did. All right. So we'll get into the last couple questions here. You have officially had my longest episode, and it's been entertaining the entire time because it's been so knowledgeable. What
I could have told you before we started.
Yeah, you didn't open with Brian. Have you had dinner yet? Are you all set up for the day? No, the joys of evening time. What do you think the rush to surf fishing is all about?
I think that outdoors activities have exploded. I think that fishing has exploded. I think surf fishing within the industry as a whole is accessible. It's affordable. And like I said, it's relaxing. Time constraints. I can maybe go for an hour and walk on the beach in sunrise. But if I'm going to take the boat out, it's like I got to tinker, I got to prepare, going to be a couple hours at least. A lot of the ladies groups that we put together will do offshore days or we'll do party boat trips. And I'm like, it's great if you want to mix in 1 or 2 days a week. It's for people that fish that frequently. But, if you go on the party boat occasionally and then you mix it up with some surf fishing also, then you're balancing out, your budget, your species, your time. I just think it's a really good balance.
Well, you're right. Oh, now I want to go on the party boat too, because now I'm going to have to allocate my time. What do you think a new angler should do?
Florida memory species?
What's that?
To get your catch of Florida memory species?
I mean, I'm not saying I'm totally doing that. You know that already. We don't even need to discuss that. I'm not saying I have sent in my request for a sheet, but I mean, I have for both of us. So Abby can go too. But anyway, because if I give her a challenge, it's one thing I love about this kid. If I give her a challenge that it's something that interests her, there's no stopping her. She is laser focused on something like that. I mean, granted, you tell her to do other things, clean up the dog poo or take out the trash. Totally don't care. But yeah, something she's interested in, and she's going to go 100% all the time. So the program, as I go back to it, I think it's a great program, and it's a lot of fun to work together on it because you're going to compete, but also make camaraderie or companionship and build memories. So it's, for me and her, it works.
100%. A lot of the girls I fish with on the party boat, they all wanted to come fish on the beach. And so it's like, or some ladies that I fish on the beach with want to, mix it up. A lot of that's, to check off species for a catch of Florida memory. But it's kind of helped me to bring some of the boat ladies or the offshore ladies to give them a totally different fishing experience. And they love it. It's so funny because the number one thing is like, this rod is so long. How do I wind it in? And they're all trying to put like the rod butt under their armpit. I'm like, what are you doing? Come on.
You're going to be tired.
So it's for me, it's been like a super fun, I can just say, hey, listen, I'm going to set everything up. You guys come down. So.
All right. Well, yes, that is what's going to happen. So what do you think a new angler should do before they ever put a line in the water?
I don't really have an answer for this question. I think probably the best thing you could do, one, is go talk to your local tackle shop. And I say that all the time because if I go it doesn't matter if you're an experienced angler. If I were going to go on a trip somewhere, my first of all, I'm Googling right away tackle shops, because that's where I go on shopping sprees. But I like buy my souvenirs at tackle shops. That's what I call shopping.
That's fair.
So you're going to get a feel for the local fishery, some tips. You know, most of the time the people that work in the tackle shop want to help you, you know, small shops especially. And you're going to need to go there and get bait and other things. So my first thing is look up tackle shops and the location, and then go there and talk to the guys and see what biting or what your options are. A lot of times when I do have newer anglers, will master just one knot, like just the clinch knot. And I think just knowing one basic rig and one basic setup, master that, and then add on. And this is similar to, I've been helping a bunch of my friends that are getting into boating and want to learn to fish in the boat. I said, we can sit here at the table and I can teach you knots, but you're not gonna remember it. I guarantee you, it doesn't matter if you practice it 100 times on YouTube. You don't know when and what is the appropriate time or application to use it. I said, but if we go in the reef and I teach you how to use a chicken rig and I teach you how to tie a chicken rig, or I take you to the beach and I show you how to use a double dropper loop rig, and then I teach you how to tie a double dropper loop rig, and I teach you how to bait that, then you have mastered, you know, or are able to by yourself fish that rig under those circumstances. And then you can make changes to it, okay? So I'll teach you how to put samplies on, I'll teach you how to put shrimp on. Or if it's flat that day, use a 2 ounce. If it's rough that day, maybe you need a 3 or 4 ounce. So you learn to make small adjustments for your conditions, but you're basically fishing one rig, one setup, you know, and then go on to the second rig, the second setup. But I think like knowing what the application is what helps it actually stick, the practicality.
Yeah, makes sense. Plus, learning it on the fly like that too. I mean, kinesthetic learning. Some people learn better that way.
Yeah, you can always go home and practice that in front of YouTube, you know. But if you just are doing a lot of like background work and you're not really realizing when to apply that, I think there's less retention. But I think when you, you know, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself, but you
do not worry about it. Repeat, because you're making good points.
Final answer.
Final answer. Very well. I accept your final answer. Allison, seriously, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff on here, and you dropped a ton of knowledge, and I can't thank you enough. Everything you've shown online, and you've shown since I have followed you that you really do care and you really do want to teach. So, and you're just trying to help everyone. So thank you for all that you've done. Seriously, I mean that.
I appreciate that. I'm just happy to be in the conversation, and like you said, I'm a forever student, and I think that's part of what's great about our larger little Facebook groups we have going. Is it seems like there's a lot of people that really want to share, and even the podcast is another great platform for us to all, you know, get to know each other and to share some info.
And that was one of the things I was talking about as we're continuing on here, but I don't care because we're enjoying this. You know, you've got the audio learners, the visual learners, the kinesthetic learners, and some that are all different types of learners. And it was one thing I thought with the podcast was there are people that are audio learners that just don't do well with video. They hear it or they read it, and that's just their thing. It's like, okay, it's not a problem. We just want to help everyone become better, catch more fish, and have better memories and live a good life. Not a bad deal. So.
Not fun, don't do it.
There you go. Exactly. All right, Allison. So for everyone that wants to follow you, they can find you on Facebook at Real Love, Instagram at Real Love FL, and if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way that they can?
I do check my messages. That's pretty much the best way over email, but you can also email me too. It's reallovesfishing@gmail.
All right. Well, thank you again. I really do appreciate it. All of your time, all of it. I really do. Thank you. We will be talking soon.
I am, but you told me to put
No, you didn't say goodbye, man. No, it's all good. Don't even worry about it.
I
That's
really
funny.
did. Anytime. Let's do it again.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we'll have another episode. That's all right. I'll edit out this one little weird part there. Don't worry. Don't worry about that little guy.
We'll do the next one from the beach. I want to come up here.
Oh, don't. Stop it. Don't tease me. Please come fish. That'd be awesome. All right, for real this time. All right, I'm going to close this out. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this was a long episode, but there was a ton of knowledge. I have a notebook that I follow my questions out of, and I had another episode next to this one where I hadn't started writing anything, and that page is now completely full of notes. So hopefully you got some good stuff out of it. Yes, it was long, and you can come back and listen to it because that's the great thing about podcasts. You can pause, you can rewind, you can go back. There's all these great things. So again, follow Allison on Real Love. On Facebook, Instagram, Real Love FL, and you can get a ton of other information from there. If you'd like to ask her about anything that was in this episode, don't hesitate. Reach out to her. If you're not sure and you want to reach out, have me to reach out, I have no problem. I'll be an in-between for you. But seriously, take the knowledge that you can while you can and just get out there and enjoy fishing. So thank you for sticking around this whole time. Thanks for checking out Finding Demo Surf Fishing, and thanks for checking out Allison and her page. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. Have an awesome week. See ya.